a mace, like flying out of this tunnel to where even when you're standing outside, you can't see. So you can't see shit. You really can't breathe at all. So you're running into walls. People are crawling over one another. It's a war scene, but it's our fault. It's not the fault of the Capitol Police that gassed and maced us and were shooting us point blank with rubber bullets, beating us over the head with batons. No, it's our fault that we didn't know how to find the exit. No, of course it's their fault. First off, and second off, it doesn't help the fact that they were pushing us over one another. Even though we were screaming at them to stop, they kept going, they kept going, they kept going. We didn't even have the chance to get up. Whenever we tried to get up, another person was pushed on top of us, to where there'd just be like a whole pile of people on top of us. And that wasn't even us doing; it was the Capitol Police pushing people on top of us. But I could just go on and give you guys all the details, but there's other people here that are here to talk tonight. I don't want to take all the time.
Thank you so much for your time. Honestly, everything that's been said here tonight matters, and everybody needs to hear this, and they need to hear this every day, every night. And it's time to support the people that are not getting due process. And Jason, we've been hammering that home all night. Every American in this country deserves due process, and there's so many people right here, right now, that are not getting it. And it's time to, you know, make sure that everybody knows and make sure everybody hears what's going on. Jason, what's up next?
Um, well, hey, first off, Philip, thank you so much for sharing the story. I'm getting a lot of messages about the fundraiser. We'll owe everybody follow ups on that after the fact. And actually, Sick is up next, and I think you're going to address some things we can do to help with different organizations. If you'd like to take the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I never expected to be able to speak in such a large group, and I appreciate it. Actually, one of the ladies that is a primary kickoff for this is in the room. Her name is Kate. She actually was in a space with Grant Cardone the other night, and Grant Cardone pledged $25 for every new person that puts this yellow "Bring Our J6ers Home" ring on their profile. We have about 700 people in this room right now. If half of them did that, that brings us to about $7,500 of funds that would go directly to J6 detainees and their families.
As
I
a
just
host,
wanted to
I'm
put
looking
that
at
out
these.
there.
As a host, I'm looking at these guys right now, and I see several of these rings in here now. That's a great idea. It's a great movement, and let's support it, guys, please.
Thank you. And I'm going to jump back down so other people can speak. I just wanted to let of such a large group know about it.
Hey, congratulations. Hit me up after. Send me a message. We'll see what we can do to help.
Did put into the bubble as well with all the contact information.
You got it. Thank you.
Yep, and then Stop Hate does have a link in the chat too with some additional resources for people that, if it's January 6th folks that need support, or if it's people looking to support January 6th. So, guys, this is awesome. And I think Brandon wanted to jump in on something. Brandon, did you have something you wanted to jump in on quick?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask Joseph a question. It looks like he's not here anymore. If you want, I can wait. Because I wanted to share. I wanted to share kind of another aspect of my story that nobody knows about yet. But I'll wait until other people. I'll do it later.
Sure, we're gonna leave this open all night until everybody has spoken. Everything that is in this space matters tonight. So I will keep this open all night.
I was also going to let you know John Strand is. Oh, never mind. He's up on the speaker box. Never mind. I see him there now.
All right.
I was going to say that next up, John Strand, the man, the myth, the legend. If you'd like to share your story, once again, just anybody who does have a story to tell, drop me a message. I'm trying to go through the messages to get you queued into the speakers. I know we've got a lot of requests, but we really want to prioritize the stories of the January 6 folks. And for anybody that is a January 6 folks, really understand the theme we're shooting for is, let's focus on the due process violations, how people weren't given discovery, and how it's impacted their family because of that, and it's really tragic. So, with that, John, thanks for hanging on, man.
Absolutely, you guys. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I only saw the space just recently, so I'm kind of catching up to where you guys are and what you're talking about. But as you mentioned, due process has always been I think, one of the key issues here. And if people aren't familiar with my particular story or where I'm at in the process, I was wrapped up into the J6 event because I was working for someone who was a scheduled speaker at a rally with a government-approved permit. So in every sense, I had a justified reason for being there, and there was nothing that I did that was obviously criminal or even inappropriate. So for myself, I was unwilling to take a plea deal and admit to being guilty when I was not. I was also unable to delay the process any further until this new revelation might come out. So I was forced to go to trial back in September of 22, where I was convicted of all 5 counts, including a 20-year felony. Anyway, so catching up to today, I'm just amazed by I say I'm amazed, but I knew how dishonest the DOJ has been from the beginning, and I knew how much information was being withheld and how much selective editing and just dishonest, quote unquote, reporting was being used by the government and the media collectively to deceive the entire country about all of this. But to see it kind of hit the airwaves fresh with Tucker's episodes it's shocking even for me, and I knew it. So when I consider Jacob Chansley, right, and the reality of how innocent he really is and how dishonest and just evil the government has been in lying about him and the situation and framing him and withholding evidence that he is legally entitled to, I'm almost speechless, and I'm in the same position. So I actually just reached out to my defense attorney and I said, excuse me, sir, but that should have been made available to me. Like, I was convicted without having all of the evidence available. That's not supposed to be acceptable in the United States of America. And I just hope everyone is really registering how completely off base we are in this country. Like, this isn't a fringe conversation. This isn't a partisan issue. This isn't a Republican or Democrat or any other party kind of problem. This is a justice problem. This is a rule of law problem, and this is an existential problem. And I'm facing 20 years of prison literally because of this problem right now. But it's gonna come and affect you and your family sooner than later. And whether it's prison or worse, we have to realize that the rule of law is literally just being shredded and tossed aside, and they're not giving any indication that they're going to slow down or start paying attention to the law and respecting it. Why would they? So I just want to encourage people to realize that it's going to take a lot more people starting to get a lot more awake and a lot more pissed off, and I hope that's what starts happening. So thanks for having me on.
Hold on, John. Before you go, man, and really quick,
Yeah.
we spoke at CPAC. Thankfully to Brandon, who got that space for us, and he was on the panel there with Walkaway, by the way. And you guys can watch that entire thing by joining Walkaway Social. But John, you said something there that I think everybody in this audience needs to hear, and that is explain the jury selection for your trial and just how excited all those people were to be on the jury, because that's something we've discussed due process, but you're the only one I think that's been, up here tonight who can share with the audience that process of going through the jury selection and all that. I think it's really important for people to understand what's taking place.
Yes, thank you, Derek. That's a great point. So the due process violation is a big deal, like we've been saying, because that's just explicit law. The law requires that all evidence be given to a defendant, and that's just been totally ignored and violated. But another key legal point, like explicit constitutional point, right back in the original document, says that every American citizen is due a fair trial by a jury of their peers. And so, as hopefully everyone realizes, but the Washington, D.C. is not a jury of your peers unless you are really extreme harebrained leftist and you hate Donald Trump and want to burn him at the stake. This is a political issue. J6 is not, it's not a bank robbery or nondescript, nonpartisan vandalism. It's a political issue. So expecting people to be tried in the District of Columbia for this is it's a joke. It's in no way is that a fair trial by a jury of your peers, and that's a constitutional guarantee that has just been tossed aside without a second thought. So, yeah, my trial was pretty fascinating. 8 days, and the most interesting day. All of them were interesting and stressful, and it was quite an ordeal. But the first day was jury selection, and it was amazing. I didn't know it was going to be like this. I was fully prepared, obviously, that the jury pool was going to be all Washington, D.C. residents and therefore all hard left and pretty much people that hate me and hate what I stand for. But I didn't realize how manufactured the whole thing seemed to be. And so they pick about 75 or 100 people that they bring into the courtroom, and then they give each one a quiz, and then each person has to respond to certain questions to the judge, one by one by one. The judge interviews every single one of them. This is in front of me and my defense lawyers and the prosecution. And so it was very clear that these people were giddy and anxious to be involved in this, and they were really, almost every single one of them was not only excited, but it was just like doing everything they could to get picked. Like, like you wanted to get picked on the school team. And it was just bizarre to me. I mean, normally if you get picked for jury duty, most normal people are like, oh my God, I have better things to do. I don't really want to do this, but I guess I have to. No, these people were dying to get picked and to be on the selection committee of, the crucifixion of John Strand, or a J6er. And, it was wild. It reminded me of like people being on sets of reality TV shows and just dying for their 15 minutes of fame so they could hang out around a movie star or something. Like, they really wanted to be selected because they really wanted, I mean, this was obvious, but they really wanted to be part of some either historic moment in their mind or just a therapeutic experience of, exercising their hatred towards MAGA Republicans or conservatives, or however they would describe me. Like I said, it was manufactured. It was very contrived. There were people that were literally coming to tears. This is like Oscar-worthy performances of these people just tremoring and crying about how shaken they were from watching their television screens on January 6th as their capital is desecrated and democracy is attacked, and they're in the midst of a terrorist act and all of these hyperbolic, ridiculous things. So the false narrative that the whole country has been brutalized with, these people drink it. It's what they read and think every day, and they kind of get off on it. So it was disturbing. That's for sure.
John, that was well, Chuck, I'll let you weigh in quick.
I was just, the amount of people that have stories here that have not been heard, I can't reiterate enough. We need to do this much more often, and they need to be heard now. This is the time, and so many people, are not getting due process, and I hope this helps every single one. And if it hasn't, let's keep doing this so we can help every single one.
Yep. And then just a couple things. One, there's a lot of great resources in the chat that both Trennis and Stop Hate have been dropping. Once again, we'll connect January 6 people that need support with organizations that are doing support. It's really moving. And before I go on to Lewis, I just want to kind of touch on one thing one of the attorneys had said earlier. It's kind of a reflective point for us as Americans, where we've heard about these marginalized people and being treated unfairly and not getting due process. And I think for a lot of us, January 6th shows a white Christian conservative with a red hat on can become ostracized. And that's one of the most remarkable things I've seen in the response from the left, where people aren't mad as hell that they didn't get due process. Like, you have attorneys representing January 6th defendants, and people like people on the left who've been shouting about like police brutality and all this stuff. I live just north of Minneapolis. I worked in the neighborhoods that were burned down, and like all those people, like, as a community, we made sure to get due process, and now these January 6ers are being so ostracized that they aren't fighting with that same passion. It's just it's really heartbreaking for us as a country, and for us to heal and move forward. I hope someday we reach some of these folks on the left and say, you know what, maybe you deserve jail, maybe you deserve 5 years or 10 years, but God damn it, you deserve due process. And I think that would be a really powerful message that hopefully some of the folks on the left could share. So with that, Lewis, you have a little bit different story. And anybody else who's looking to talk, drop me a note so I can work you into the queue. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody, thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Jason. All the J6 Mama Bears and everybody, all the J6ers. Shout out. Thank you, Lord Jesus Christ, Yahshua, the Messiah, the creator of heaven and earth, for giving us this time right now. I want to, before I even go forward, I really want to pray for Joseph McBride. And I want to pray for the sedition hunters who are on this line. I specifically want to pray for Ryan J. Riley of NBC News. And that name might turn some stomachs. And you know what? If it turns your stomach, I want you to pray even harder, because the victory is upon us, Patriots. I'm going to start with here. Look, these are my credentials. I provided information to the U.S. Marshals that forced the FBI to make arrests. The arrests that were made are two very particular names. I'm sorry, I'm going to take some plays out of the enemy's playbook just for a little bit, and you guys will entertain me, and we're going to go somewhere with this. James Malt, Cody Matisse. I want you guys to get really familiar with these names. I want you to get really familiar with saying these names. The reason why we're going to say these names is because if there was an insurrection, and there was an insurrection on January the 6th, Cody Matisse and James Malt, they were guilty of it. The only reason that Cody Matisse and James Malt were brought to justice is because of the information that I brought. And so right now, all the J6 Mama Bears, everybody who has family members who are in jail right now, this is the way out. Look, this is the Joseph McBride. This is the argument. I want the federal government to extend to my family members the same courtesy that you extended to James Malt, because this is extraordinary. The FBI not only knew who he was on January the 5th, they went to Ironworkers Union in Buffalo, 33. Buffalo is a really important city, and I'm going to get to this. But they thought they got away with it. They went and they cleared James Malt, not one time, but 2 times. They cleared him a second time because they allowed him to re-enlist into the Army Reserves. So right now I have a list of demands, and there's the first 2 that I want to talk about. All J6 defendants need to be released immediately. And they need to be released immediately based on the precedence that has already been set with the FBI agents who cleared James Malt and Cody Matisse. We're going to get used to saying these names because the FBI already cleared them. The U.S. Marshals already cleared them. Look, I'm bringing receipts, and Patriots, I know how difficult it must be to have false hope and to hear all these things. And I'm going to tell you, most of the things I'm talking to you guys right now, it's already court evidence. It is already in the District Court of Columbia. We are going to put the court system on defense because you know what? I have a taped recording that I have already shared with you guys. The press secretary for the District Court of Columbia just yesterday, she denied that there's anybody sitting in jail right now without being charged. We're going to fact check her. Look, I think a lot of us are sitting on the sidelines like, what are we going to do? We know that there is, and I'm sorry, guys, I'm in coastal California. It's raining. I'm like getting wet, and it's such an honor and privilege to tell you guys. my phone cut off twice as I was trying to get this information out. Again, what we're doing right now is we're getting this information to Joseph McBride first and foremost. We're praying for Joseph McBride because he's going to take this ball and he's going to run with it. The J6 defendants, they need to be released immediately under the precedent that has already been set. The precedent that was set, is when they let James Malt, they cleared him of charges. They let him re-enlist in the army. Why did they do that? Because James Malt is the person that fits the definition of seditious conspiracist. Okay, right now, I called the U.S. Marshals, and I've also provided this phone call. I'm bringing you guys receipts. And you know what? The court system is already compromised. The U.S. Marshals